The eternal war between vampires and werewolves has been the subject matter of a lot of movies and TV shows, like Twilight, The Vampire Diaries, The Originals, and Van Helsing. But no franchise could ever beat the action-filled Underworld franchise, a creation of Danny McBride, Len Wiseman, and Kevin Graveau. The Underworld franchise currently has 5 movies: Underworld, Evolution, Rise of the Lycans, Awakening, and Blood Wars. One of the central families in this conflict between the Lycans and the vampires is the powerful Corvinus clan. Let's find out all we can about them. But first, make sure you have subscribed and click on the bell icon to turn on notifications for this marvelous channel. Let's begin. The history of the ancient clan. The name Corvinus comes from the Latin word corvus, which means raven. Because of this, the Corvinus clan is also known as the Clan of the Raven. The Corvinus clan actually has real historical origins, and according to Fang vs. Fiction, a documentary on vampires, they existed around the same time the real inspiration for Dracula, Vlad the Impaler, did. The clan has existed since the early part of the 5th century AD and can be traced back to Alexander Corvinus, the first true immortal. The clan had one of the rarest blood types known to mankind, which reacted with the plague to turn Alexander immortal and later was responsible for the creation of the first vampire, Marcus Corvinus, and the first werewolf, William Corvinus. Somewhere during the passage of time, Corvinus became modernized into Corvin, and all the recent descendants of the clan forgot the iconic history of their ancestors. But this cannot be completely attributed to time, as there is one person who worked to rewrite history. The vampire elder, Victor, wanted to be the first vampire in history and began discrediting every single fact about the clan, and went so far as to banish the historian, Andreas Tanis, who was one of the few old and alive people who knew the truth. He spread harmful rumors against Andreas, claiming that all of his documentation was false. Thanks to this, very few of the vampires are aware of the real history, while the rest think that Corvinus clan either did not exist or was an old wives' tale. Now that we know the brief history of the clan, let's dive deep into the lives of every known Corvinus.
You're Alexander Corvinus.
Alexander Corvinus, the earliest documented Corvinus clan member. Alexander Corvinus was a Hungarian warlord and duke. As soon as he gained control of the duchy, the plague began to ravage his fellow countrymen and killed all of the people in his home village. As we told you earlier, when Alexander caught the plague, the virus mutated his rare blood strain and turned him immortal. Years later, Alexander married Helena and had 3 kids with her. Only 2 of his kids, Marcus and William, inherited the immortality strain. Years later, when William, after turning into a mindless werewolf, began to rampage, Marcus, now a vampire, tried to limit his brother's savagery and unknowingly began what would be a century-long feud between werewolves and vampires. During this time, Alexander decided to establish a military force known as the Cleaner Corps, or the Cleaners for short. The aim of this organization was to make sure the Lycan vampire war never got out of hand and to hide the existence of immortals from the world of human beings. Though Alexander never really tried to intervene, the Cleaners were always sent to areas where battles had occurred to get rid of the dead bodies of vampires and werewolves. At the beginning of the 21st century, Alexander took on the alias of Lorenz Macaro and had started living in his ship, the Sancta Helena, named after his beloved mortal wife. The ship also acted as the headquarters of the Cleaner Corps. When Marcus tried to hunt down the vampire warrior, Selene, and his descendant, and a hybrid Michael Corvin, they seek the help of Alexander on his ship, begging him to kill his nefarious sons. But Alexander is a father after all, and tells them that he cannot bring himself to harm his sons, but unknown to them, he keeps tabs on both of them, and tries to keep them out of trouble as much as he can. When Selene kills Victor, the vampire elder who had half the key to William's prison, he has his cleaners fetch the body for him. As the key was hidden inside Victor's flesh, Alexander found it and kept it, hoping to prevent anyone from ever finding it. But unfortunately, Marcus becomes aware of it and confronts his father. He accuses Alexander of forsaking him and his brother and demands the key. When Alexander says no, Marcus tells him that he is planning to build a new future, where Marcus will be a god, and since gods had no fathers, he impales Alexander. This should tell you about the love Alexander has towards Marcus, as he could have easily defeated him in combat, being the oldest and strongest immortal. While his father lies bleeding, Marcus gets the key. But before he can kill his father for good, the cleaners arrive, and he flees. The leader of the cleaners, Samuel, is shocked to see his gravely wounded master, and he rushes to help him, but Alexander stops him and asks him to bring Selene. He asks her to drink his blood, which contains the immortal strain. He says that the only way she can defeat the Corvinus twins is by drinking his blood, which will give her more strength. As she drinks the blood, Selene mutates into a vampire immortal hybrid, which gives her heightened senses and the ability to walk under sunlight. Alexander then sends her away with the cleaners and detonates the explosives on the ship, erasing any proof of the conflict that took place there. What a truly admirable man. Even in his dying breath, he was committed to hiding the identity of the immortals. Helena Corvinus. Helena is a Corvinus by marriage, which is why she did not have the immortal strain. She died before her sons turned into a vampire and a werewolf. Alexander truly loved Helena, as he did not bother giving his love to anyone else throughout his life. You can catch a glimpse of Helena on the Sancta Helena, as there is a bust of her image on the ship.
No, William, stop! Be still, brother.
William and Marcus Corvinus. The identical twin brothers, William and Marcus, were born sometime during the 5th century AD. The brothers shared a special bond and were very close to each other. As they knew they were immortal, they also went around flaunting their immunity. During one of their nightly rides near the Carpathian Mountains, they were attacked by a giant rabid wolf. As soon as the wolf makes itself visible, Marcus's horse begins to panic, and he is unable to defend himself from the wolf. Seeing his brother in danger, William jumped into action and killed the wolf, but not before getting a nasty wolf bite on his wrist. Marcus took the wounded William to a nearby inn to dress his wounds. But as the night grew darker, William's condition grew worse. He was racked with a high fever and convulsions because of the rabies virus transferred to him through the wolf's saliva. The rabies and wolf DNA began to react with the Corvinus strain, and before the sun rose the next day, William had turned into the world's first werewolf. As the virus was too strong in his body, William could not transform back into a human and looked like a wolf permanently. He lost his memories, human logic, and reasoning, and began to roam hungry as a savage and angry beast, hunting down humans and turning them into werewolves. The only person that William refused to harm was his twin brother, Marcus. Days later, Marcus was bitten by a bat whose DNA mutated with the Corvinus strain to turn him into the world's first vampire. Marcus tried to stop William's rampage and sought the help of a dying warlord named Victor, offering him immortality in exchange. Victor jumped at the opportunity and became one of the first vampire elders. Marcus also converted Amelia. To help Victor, Victor began creating a vampire army named the Death Dealers with Amelia, and they searched far and wide for William, killing or enslaving every werewolf they found on the way, and effectively starting the Vampire-Werewolf War. For 600 years, William roamed freely, but was captured in 1202 AD. Marcus had intended to help his brother, but Victor intended to kill him. After Victor shows Marcus that all the vampires are only loyal to Victor, Marcus tells him that every single werewolf would die if William was killed. This discourages Victor, as he likes having all his werewolf slaves, so he locks him up in a remote prison. But Marcus does not take kindly to Victor's show of power and swears vengeance, promising to free his brother one day. The Death Dealers become the first coven, and Victor began manipulating facts to be called the oldest and strongest vampire. He and Amelia set up a system that only one of them can be awake at a time, while the other two hibernated. Marcus remained asleep for 2 centuries, and awakened to find the treacherous vampire Craven plotting to kill him. He killed Craven and read all his memories, where he found out that Victor and Amelia had died. Finally, free of the betraying vampires, he sets out to locate the keys to his brother's prison. He tortures Andreas into revealing the location of the keys, and after getting it from Selene and Alexander, frees William. William, after being trapped in the cell for centuries, had gone hungry and crazy. But even then, he recognizes the scent of his brother and calms his rage. But their reunion is short-lived, as Selene arrives when Michael Corvin and the cleaners, and a battle breaks out. Though William has not fed in centuries, he is a formidable opponent as the elder werewolf, and easily kills most of the cleaners. Selene tries to subdue him with her shuriken and guns, but when they don't work, Michael takes over, leaving Selene to fight Marcus. After a difficult and arduous fight, he tears the first werewolf's head apart, armed only with his bare hands. Marcus drives his winged talon through Selene, but she survives as she has the Corvinus strain in her blood. As soon as he witnesses the death of William, Marcus becomes distraught and unfocused, allowing Selene to impale his head with his own talon. She pushes him back towards a crashed helicopter whose blades are still rotating, which cuts him up and ends him. The third son. We don't know the name of Alexander's third son, who was born with a dormant form of the Corvinus strain, forcing him to live a mortal life like his mother. The third son probably lived a more peaceful life than his brothers, as we know for sure that he fell in love, married, and had offsprings, allowing the Corvinus strain to pass on eventually to Michael Corvin. Michael Corvin. There is no knowledge of the names of any of Michael's parents or grandparents, but there is information that Michael's paternal grandparents migrated from Hungary to America in the 1940s. At 18, Michael served in the United States Marine Corps, but that lasted only a year, as he was soon discharged. He then studied medicine. Eventually, he met, fell in love, and got engaged to Samantha in Long Island, New York. As luck would have it, Samantha died in a car accident, landing Michael in inexplicable grief. Wanting a fresh start, he moved to Hungary, the original place of his grandparents, and found a home in Budapest. He soon joined the residency as a trauma surgery intern. At the St. Istvan Hospital, the Lycans had found out about Michael's arrival in Budapest and wanted to take a blood sample from him to study the Corvinus strain. As they followed him one night on his way to work, allowing Michael to escape without harm. But the same night, when Michael returned home, Selene attacked him. She was only curious about why the Lycans were after him, but she didn't get much time to ask Michael, as werewolves soon arrived. One of the Lycans, Lucian, bites Michael, infecting him with the werewolf virus. Selene shoots Lucian and escapes with Michael, but Lucian transfers the blood in his mouth into a vial and sends it to be tested. He stops Selene from driving away from Michael by stabbing her, and the car drives into a river. Michael rescues her and administers CPR to save her and passes out from exhaustion. Indebted, she takes him to her coven's manor house to safeguard him. When Michael wakes, he sees a snarling vampire who is threatened by the werewolf virus within him. He escapes through the window and heads back to the hospital where he works. Meanwhile, the Lycans confirm their suspicions. After the blood tests report the existence of the Corvinus strain in Michael, they start asking around to capture him and end up at Michael's hospital, unaware of the threat so close to him. Michael tells a coworker about all the things that happened. The coworker, however, becomes concerned about his mental state and alerts the cops, which leads Michael to flee once again. Michael goes back to Selene, who drives him to a safe house, but doesn't trust the name as the place is hardly safe. Lycans attack once again and kidnap him, but as they are taking him away, the moon becomes visible, and Michael starts turning. The Lycans inject him with an anti-change enzyme that stops his conversion to wolf form and take him to Lucian, who narrates the incidents of the vampire-werewolf war to Michael. Before Michael can digest this new information, Death Dealers attack. One of the Death Dealers, Craven, has a massive crush on Selene and feels jealous of the attention she is giving Michael. Like a kid throwing a tantrum, Craven shoots him with silver nitrate bullets, which are lethal to werewolves, and Selene bites him to save his life. The newly hybrid Michael is thrown into battle with Victor, who believes hybrids are abominations and should be slaughtered. His new powers are no match to the vampire elder's strength, and as Victor begins choking Michael, Selene slices his head in half and kills Victor. Selene and Michael run away to avoid the wrath of body vampires and werewolves, and Selene begins to teach Michael about the ways of a hybrid. They spend some chill moments together till they are hunted down by Marcus, trying to find out about why he attacked them. They meet Andreas, who tells them about the first vampire and werewolf. We already told you what happened next, but to quickly recap, they ask Alexander for help. He says no, and then Marcus attacks and kills Alexander. Selene and Michael fight the newly released William and vengeful Marcus and kill them both. Thanks to the death of the Cleaners and Alexander Corvinus, humanity learns about the existence of immortals and declares war on them. Selene and Michael are captured and cryogenically frozen by Antigen, a company that claims to be working to develop an antidote for the vampire and werewolf condition, but is actually a cover for a lair of werewolves planning global domination. Sometime during the next 12 years, Michael escaped the facility, but was abducted by Marius, the new Lycan leader, who cut his throat to drain his blood. Marius wanted to boost his abilities using the hybrid blood of Michael, and killed him to achieve it. What a sad ending to a brilliant and adventurous life. Eve Corvin. The last known descendant of the Corvinus clan, Eve Corvin, was born when her parents Michael and Celine were cryogenically frozen. She was the first hybrid to have 3 active strains in her blood: vampire, werewolf, and Corvinus. Antigen convinced her that she was an orphan and had raised her as subject 2 in their infected persons unit. But Eve was telepathically connected to her parents, which led her to learn of the lies her caretakers were telling her. She frees her mother and escapes with her, confronting Jacob Lane and killing him along the way. She gives her mother a lock of her hair and makes her promise that she will not go looking for Eve, and goes into hiding. Marius, the new Lycan leader, tries to find her, as her blood would increase his powers but is unable to. She comes out of hiding after Marius' death and joins Vardor, the Nordic Coven, as one of the 3 vampire elders. She is happy and alive, and also seems to have a good relationship with her mother. Marvelous verdict. The Corvinus clan seems to have found a talented and capable heir in Eve Corvin. Who do you think is the strongest member of the Corvinus clan? Our bets are on William Corvinus, the elder Lycan. If he can do all that damage while being starved and isolated for years, imagine what he could do with a good diet and exercise. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you liked the video, make sure to give us a thumbs up. See you soon with yet another awesome exploration. And until then, take care.